They said a poor grandmother couldn't raise a child. 5 years later, the girl stunned the nation. Welcome back, and enjoy the story. The sweet scent of cinnamon and vanilla hung in the air of Fiona's small kitchen as she kneaded dough. With practiced hands, outside her window, the Chicago skyline stretched toward an overcast October sky, the Lake Michigan breeze carrying a hint of the coming winter. At 68, Fiona Sullivan's hands showed the map of her years, weathered, spotted with age, but still strong and capable as they worked the dough into submission. The afternoon light caught the silver of her hair, tied back in a practical bun, wisps escaping to frame a face lined with both laughter and sorrow. The phone's shrill ring cut through the quiet rhythm of her baking. Wiping flour-covered hands on her well-worn apron, she reached for the receiver, unaware that the next few minutes would irrevocably alter the course of her remaining years. "Mrs. Sullivan." The formal tone immediately set her nerves on edge. "This is Memorial Hospital. I'm afraid there's been an accident involving your daughter, Catherine." The world seemed to slow as the voice continued, words like emergency surgery and critical condition floating through the air like the dust motes in the sunbeams, cutting across her kitchen. But it was the mention of her granddaughter, Donna, that snapped Fiona back to full attention. "The child is here, Mrs. Sullivan. She's physically unharmed, but asking for her mother. We need you to come right away." Fiona arrived at the hospital, still wearing her flour-dusted clothes, her heart thundering against her ribs. The antiseptic smell assaulted her senses as she was led through sterile corridors to a small waiting room where 8-year-old Donna sat alone, her small frame dwarfed by an oversized hospital chair. The girl's dark curls hung limply around a face pale with shock, her wide brown eyes vacant and red-rimmed from crying. "Grandma Fiona?" Donna's voice cracked as she looked up, confusion and fear evident in her expression. Fiona enfolded her granddaughter in her arms, feeling the child's body shudder with silent sobs. Over the top of Donna's head, she met the solemn gaze of the doctor who had entered behind her. "Mrs. Sullivan, may I speak with you privately?" The conversation that followed struck Fiona like physical blows. Catherine had sustained catastrophic injuries. The surgeons had done everything possible, but the internal bleeding couldn't be stopped. Her vibrant, beautiful daughter, a single mother who had struggled but always managed to provide for her child, was gone. "What happens to Donna now?" Fiona asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The social worker explained the situation with clinical detachment. As Catherine's only living relative, Fiona was the natural guardian for Donna, unless she felt unable to take on the responsibility. At her age, with only a modest pension from her late husband's factory job and her small home in a declining neighborhood, no one would blame her for stepping aside to allow Donna to enter the foster system. Fiona's gaze traveled through the doorway to where Donna sat, clutching a vending machine hot chocolate that had long gone cold. The girl's small shoulders were hunched forward, as if already bracing for the next blow life would deliver. "There will be no need for foster care," Fiona stated, her voice finding new strength. "Her home is with me. It always has been when she needed it. Now she needs it permanently." That night, Fiona made up the small spare bedroom that had occasionally hosted Donna for weekend visits. As the child finally fell into an exhausted sleep, Fiona sat on the edge of her own bed, allowing herself the private grief she had held at bay for Donna's sake. Tears streamed down her weathered face as doubts crashed over her like waves. Her arthritic knees ached from the day's stress, a painful reminder of her age. Her pension barely covered her own modest needs. The house, while paid off, needed repairs. She'd been postponing. And now a child to raise, a child who would need not just food and shelter, but guidance, education, opportunities. "Oh, Catherine," she whispered into the darkness, "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this." From the hallway came the sound of whimpering. Fiona found Donna thrashing in her sleep, calling for her mother. Settling beside her, Fiona stroked the child's forehead until the nightmare subsided, though she knew the waking reality would be no less painful. "We'll find a way," Fiona promised, as much to herself as to her sleeping granddaughter. "Somehow, we'll find a way." The morning brought the first of many challenges. Donna's school called, offering condolences but also inquiring about the child's living arrangements and expressing concerns about attendance and stability. The bank called about Catherine's modest accounts and outstanding debts. Neighbors began dropping by, their sympathy thinly veiling their curiosity and judgment. "At your age, Fiona? Raising a child?" Mrs. Rodriguez from next door shook her head while delivering a casserole. "You should be enjoying your golden years, not starting parenthood again." "How will you manage on just your pension?" asked Mr. Chen from the corner store, even as he slipped extra fruit into her grocery bag without charging her. "That poor child," Fiona overheard Mrs. Abernathy telling another neighbor on the street. "Going from a young mother to an elderly grandmother. She'll have no proper guidance during her teenage years. It's a recipe for disaster." With each comment, each doubtful glance, Fiona's spine straightened a little more, her jaw set a little firmer. The whispers around the neighborhood grew as weeks passed. Some said she would surrender to the foster system within months. Others speculated that Donna's academic performance would suffer without proper support for her homework. A few, even, suggested that child services should intervene before the situation deteriorated. Inside their small home, Fiona and Donna established new routines around their shared grief. Mornings began early, with Fiona rising before dawn to prepare breakfast, and lunch for Donna before the girl headed to school. Evenings were spent at the kitchen table, where Fiona helped with homework as best she could, though the new teaching methods often confounded her. "That's not how we learned multiplication," Fiona muttered one evening, squinting at Donna's textbook. "The teacher says we have to show our work this way," Donna explained, her small fingers guiding her grandmother's through the unfamiliar process. Fiona nodded, swallowing her pride. "Then you'll have to teach your old grandma some new tricks, won't you?" Those moments when Donna briefly brightened, assuming the role of teacher, became precious islands in the sea of their grief. Yet as weeks turned to months, financial reality pressed in with increasing urgency. Donna outgrew her clothes. The refrigerator began making an ominous, rattling sound. The winter heating bill arrived, nearly double what Fiona had budgeted. One evening, as Fiona sat at her small desk reviewing her dwindling savings, Donna appeared in the doorway, still in her school uniform. "Grandma? Isabel invited me to her birthday party next Saturday." She held out a glittery invitation. "Everyone's going." Fiona took the card, noting the location, an expensive entertainment center, and the mention of a gift registry at a high-end toy store. Her heart sank, knowing that even the most modest item would strain their budget. "That sounds lovely, dear," she said carefully. "Let me think about it." Later that night, after Donna had gone to bed, Fiona opened her jewelry box. Inside lay her most precious possession, the gold wedding band James had placed on her finger 46 years earlier. She turned it in the lamplight, remembering his face, his hands, his promise that he would always provide for her. What would he think of her now, considering selling the symbol of that promise to buy a child's birthday gift? "I think you'd understand, James," she whispered. "Some promises evolve with time." The next day, the pawn shop owner offered her far less than the ring's worth, but enough for a modest gift and the party admission fee. As she walked home, the weight of the money in her purse felt simultaneously heavier and lighter than the ring had on her finger. If you're enjoying the story, type 5 in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. If not, type 0. It helps me create even better content for you. Continuing. Winter gave way to spring, bringing new challenges. The school year was ending, but summer meant childcare concerns. Fiona's arthritis flared in the damp weather, making her morning routine more painful, but it also brought unexpected joy when Donna brought home a report card filled with A's and B's. "Look, Grandma, Ms. Winters says I might qualify for the advanced program next year." Donna's eyes shone with the first real excitement Fiona had seen since Catherine's death. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Fiona said, pulling her granddaughter close. "Your mother would be so proud." The mention of Catherine still brought a shadow to Donna's face, but now it passed more quickly. Progress, Fiona thought. Small steps forward. That progress was threatened the following week when an expensive-looking car pulled up outside their modest home. Fiona peered through the curtains, watching as a well-dressed couple emerged, Richard and Eleanor Davis, Donna's paternal grandparents. In all the years since their son had abandoned Catherine after learning of her pregnancy, they had never acknowledged Donna's existence. Now, as if summoned by the scent of vulnerability, they stood on Fiona's porch with somber expressions that couldn't quite mask their judgment of her humble home. "We've only recently learned of Catherine's passing," Eleanor explained in the living room, declining Fiona's offer of tea. Her eyes catalogued every worn piece of furniture, every crack in the ceiling. "Naturally, we're concerned about our granddaughter's welfare." Richard nodded, his expensive watch catching the light as he gestured. "We've discussed it, and we believe Donna would be better off coming to live with us in Boston. We have a large home in Beacon Hill, access to the finest schools, resources for extracurricular activities. We understand you've done your best," Eleanor added, her smile not reaching her eyes. "But at your age, with your limited means, surely you can see this would be in Donna's best interest." Fiona's hands trembled slightly as she folded them. In her lap, "Donna has already lost her mother. I don't believe tearing her away from the only other family she's known would benefit her at all." "We're her family too," Richard countered. "Blood relation on her father's side. Blood relation that hasn't sent so much as a birthday card in 8 years, Fiona replied evenly. Eleanor's expression hardened. "We're prepared to pursue this legally if necessary. Our attorneys believe any family court would favor our stability and resources over this." Her hand waved dismissively at the surroundings. The conversation ended in a tense standoff, with the Davises announcing they would return the following day to meet Donna. After they left, Fiona sank into her chair, trembling with fury and fear. She had no money for legal battles, no connections to influential people. If the Davises pursued custody, could she really fight them? When Donna returned from school, Fiona explained the situation as gently as possible, watching her granddaughter's expressive face cycle through confusion, curiosity, and wariness. "Do I have to go with them?" she asked finally. "No," Fiona said firmly, though uncertainty gnawed at her. "This is your home for as long as you want it to be. But they are your father's parents, and they'd like to meet you tomorrow." That night's sleep eluded Fiona. She imagined Donna in a grand house with every advantage money could buy. The best schools, music lessons, summer camps, college without student loans. Wouldn't a truly selfless grandmother step aside for such opportunities? Yet the thought of life without Donna's presence now seemed unbearable. The meeting the next day was strained. The Davises arrived bearing expensive gifts, a tablet computer, designer clothes, a plush teddy bear wearing a sweater from an elite preparatory school. Donna accepted their offerings with the polite manners Fiona had instilled, but remained pressed against her grandmother's side throughout the visit. "We have a beautiful room prepared for you," Eleanor told Donna, "with a canopy bed just like a princess, and there's a wonderful girl your age next door. Her father is a surgeon at Massachusetts General." "Would I still see Grandma Fiona?" Donna asked, her voice small. Eleanor and Richard exchanged glances. "Of course," Richard said smoothly. "We could arrange visits." "Perhaps for holidays," Eleanor added. though Boston is quite far and at your grandmother's age travel can be difficult. Before leaving, they proposed a compromise that felt more like an ultimatum. Donna would come for a 2-week stay during her upcoming spring break. They would send a first-class plane ticket and show her the life they could offer. Then, if she liked it, they could discuss permanent arrangements. It's her choice, Fiona insisted, though she wondered if an 8-year-old could truly comprehend what was at stake. After the Davises departed, Donna disappeared into her room without a word. Fiona found her sitting on her bed, examining the expensive tablet, but not turning it on. "They want to take me away," Donna said, not looking up. Fiona sat beside her, the bed creaking under their combined weight. "They think they can give you things I can't," she admitted. "And they're right about some of that. I don't have money for fancy schools or big houses." Donna was quiet for a moment. "Mom always said you can't buy happiness." "Your mother was very wise," Fiona said, her throat tightening. "But opportunities matter too. The Davises are offering you a chance to visit, to see what life with them might be like. I think you should go." "You want me to go?" Donna's voice cracked with betrayal. "No, sweetheart. I want you to stay more than anything, but I want what's best for you even more than that. Sometimes love means being brave enough to let someone see all their options." The days leading up to spring break passed in a haze of preparation. Eleanor sent detailed instructions about appropriate clothing for Boston society, most of which Fiona couldn't provide. Instead, she focused on preparing Donna emotionally, looking at maps of Boston together, researching the museums they might visit. The night before Donna's departure, Fiona baked Catherine's favorite chocolate chip cookies, the recipe she had passed down to her daughter and had begun teaching to Donna. "A little bit of home to take with you," she said, carefully packing them in a tin. Watching Donna board the plane alone the next morning, the Davises having sent a ticket only for their granddaughter, was among the hardest things Fiona had ever done. She maintained her composure until she returned to her empty house. There, surrounded by the sudden quiet, she finally allowed herself to cry, terrified that she had just lost her granddaughter forever. The house felt cavernous without Donna's presence. Each day Fiona went through the motions of her routine, her movements slower, heavier. Eleanor called each evening with glowing reports of symphonies attended, shopping expeditions completed, influential people met. Donna came to the phone after these recitations, her voice sounding smaller and more distant with each call. On the 5th day, while sorting through boxes of Catherine's belongings that she hadn't yet found the strength to address, Fiona discovered a journal. Opening it with trembling hands, she recognized her daughter's flowing handwriting immediately. "My hopes for Donna," read the heading on one page, dated just a year earlier. Catherine's words spilled across the pages that followed, not wishes for material success or status, but dreams of raising a daughter with compassion, resilience, creativity and joy. "I want her to know her worth isn't in things, but in her heart," Catherine had written. "To understand that family means standing together in hard times, to see beauty in simple moments." Fiona pressed the journal to her chest, tears flowing freely. Catherine had valued exactly what Fiona could give Donna: love, stability, values, above the advantages the Davises offered. That same afternoon the doorbell rang. Fiona opened it to find Donna standing on the porch, her expensive new suitcase beside her, and a taxi pulling away from the curb. "Donna! What? How?" Fiona stammered. Donna launched herself into her grandmother's arms. "I told them I had to come home," she said, her voice muffled against Fiona's cardigan. "They wanted me to stay longer, to see some fancy horse show, but I just wanted to come home to you." Later, over hot chocolate, Donna explained that while Boston had been exciting, it hadn't felt like home. The Davises had shown her off to their friends like a new possession. The neighboring child Eleanor had mentioned turned out to be haughty and disinterested. The canopy bed had felt cold and unfamiliar. "They have a cook and a housekeeper and a driver," Donna said. "But nobody bakes cookies with me or reads me stories at night. Mrs. Davis, I couldn't call her grandma. She doesn't even know how to play checkers." Fiona listened, her heart swelling with each word. "They must be very disappointed you left early." Donna nodded solemnly. "They said I should give it more time, that I'd get used to their ways, but I told them I belong with you." Her small face suddenly clouded. "They're still coming next week to talk about custody." Mr. Davis said something about courts and judges. An icy fear gripped Fiona's heart, but she kept her expression calm for Donna's sake. "We'll face that together when the time comes." The night before the Davises' scheduled arrival, Fiona noticed water dripping from a brown stain on the kitchen ceiling. A spring storm had revealed a leak in the roof, one more expense she couldn't afford, especially with potential legal fees looming. But the leak couldn't be ignored. Water damage would only compound the problem. Morning brought sunshine, a temporarily dry ceiling, and the unwelcome sight of the Davises' luxury car pulling up to the curb. This time a third person emerged from the vehicle, a sharp-featured woman in a tailored suit carrying a leather portfolio. "Our attorney," Richard explained curtly after introductions. "We've decided to formalize our petition for custody." The attorney, Ms. Pembroke, spread documents across Fiona's kitchen table, covering a spot where Donna had recently spilled orange juice. "We've prepared a comprehensive case for why Donna would thrive in the Davises' care. Financial stability, educational opportunities, appropriate social connections." "And what about love?" Fiona interrupted. "Consistency? The comfort of familiar surroundings after trauma?" Ms. Pembroke's smile was thin. "Courts certainly consider emotional factors, but they also look at practical matters, the child's future prospects, quality of housing." Her gaze deliberately shifted to the water stain on the ceiling. Fiona felt her face flush with shame, but before she could respond, Donna spoke from the doorway where she had been quietly listening. "I won't go," she stated, her young voice unwavering. "You can't make me." Eleanor's expression softened artificially. "Donna, dear, you don't understand adult matters. We only want what's best." "My mom wrote what she wanted for me," Donna interrupted, holding up Catherine's journal that Fiona had shared with her. "She wanted me to be with people who love me for me, not for what I wear or where I go to school. Will Donna's rooftop dreams come tumbling down with the rain, or will unexpected sunshine break through the clouds gathering above their modest home?" The attorney glanced at the journal with narrowed eyes. "A child's preferences are considered, but they aren't the determining factor, especially at Donna's age." Richard cleared his throat. "Perhaps we could discuss an arrangement. Regular visitation, financial support for Donna's education, while she primarily remains here." His gaze met Fiona's, a calculating look behind his seeming compromise. "Of course, we would need certain standards maintained. Appropriate housing, for instance." Fiona understood immediately. They were offering a deal that would require improvements to the home that she couldn't afford, setting her up to fail so they could later claim neglect. "I appreciate your concern," she said carefully, "but Donna and I will manage our home as we always have. If you truly wish to be part of her life, I welcome that involvement, as grandparents, not as custodians." The meeting ended with thinly veiled threats of court proceedings. After they left, Fiona stood in the center of her kitchen, feeling the walls of her modest home closing in. The Davises had resources she could never match, connections she could never make. If they pursued legal action, could she truly prevail? A small hand slipped into hers. Donna looked up, her young face solemn. "We'll be okay, Grandma. Mum always said you're the strongest person she knew." Fiona squeezed her granddaughter's hand, pushing aside her doubts. Your mother was right about many things." That afternoon, while Donna was at a friend's house, Fiona climbed the rickety ladder to examine the roof leak, ignoring the protest of her arthritic knees. The damage was worse than she'd feared. Years of deferred maintenance had left the shingles crumbling in sections. A professional repair would cost thousands she didn't have. At the kitchen table, she spread her finances before her like puzzle pieces that refused to fit together. Her pension covered their basic needs with careful budgeting, but unexpected expenses like this roof repair would quickly deplete her meager savings. And now, with potential legal fees looming, a knock at the door interrupted her calculations. Mr. Chen from the corner store stood on her porch, holding a toolbox. "Mrs. Rodriguez mentioned your roof is leaking," he said simply. "I used to work construction before opening the store. Perhaps I can help." Over the next few days, a quiet miracle unfolded. Mr. Chen brought materials salvaged from his brother's remodeling business. Mrs. Rodriguez sent her teenage sons to assist with the labor. Other neighbors appeared with casseroles, offers of childcare, small contributions to the repair fund. None of them were wealthy, but together they created a safety net of community support. "Why are you all helping us?" Fiona asked Mrs. Rodriguez as they watched the roof work progress. The younger woman smiled. "Because you would do the same. Because you've watched our children, shared your recipes, listened to our troubles, and because we've seen how that little girl has blossomed in your care, no matter what those fancy people say." Tim. By the end of the week, the roof was patched, not a professional job, but sound enough to keep out the rain. More importantly, Fiona understood that she and Donna weren't facing their challenges alone. When Donna's teacher requested a meeting the following Monday, Fiona's first thought was that the Davises had somehow involved the school in their custody maneuvering. She arrived braced for confrontation, only to find Ms. Winters beaming with excitement. "Donna's standardized test scores are exceptional," she explained, spreading colorful charts across her desk. "Particularly in mathematics and reading comprehension. She's performing well above grade level in most subjects." Fiona felt a surge of pride, quickly followed by confusion. "That's wonderful, but why the special meeting?" "I'd like to recommend Donna for the district's accelerated learning program," Ms. Winters explained. "It would mean more challenging coursework, specialized instruction, and potentially significant opportunities down the road. Magnet middle schools, advanced placement tracks in high school, scholarship possibilities." Hope bloomed in Fiona's chest. "That sounds perfect for Donna." Ms. Winters' smile faded slightly. "There are some practical considerations. The program is hosted at Westridge Elementary across town. Transportation isn't provided. There would be costs for special materials, field trips, technology requirements." The familiar weight of financial limitations settled back onto Fiona's shoulders. "I see. The program does have a limited number of need-based scholarships for materials," Ms. Winters added quickly. "Donna would be a strong candidate, but the transportation issue remains." Fiona nodded, already calculating bus routes in her mind, wondering if her arthritis would allow her to walk Donna to the more distant bus stop each morning. "How soon would you need our decision?" "The testing and interviews would happen next month. If accepted, she would begin in the fall." That evening, after helping Donna with her homework, Fiona sat at the kitchen table with a stack of bus schedules, mapping out potential routes. The commute would add nearly 2 hours to Donna's school day, time the child could use for homework, play, or much-needed rest after the emotional upheavals of the past year. "What are you working on?" "Grandma?" Donna asked, appearing in her pajamas, a glass of water in hand. Fiona explained about the accelerated learning program, watching Donna's eyes widen with excitement at the academic opportunities, then dim slightly at the mention of changing schools, leaving her friends. "Would it help me get into a good college someday, like Mom wanted?" Donna asked. It could, sweetie. Your mother always hoped you would have opportunities she didn't. Donna nodded solemnly. Then I want to do it, even if it's hard. Watching her granddaughter's determined expression, Fiona was struck by how much she resembled Catherine in that moment. The same stubborn tilt of the chin, the same willingness to work for a distant goal. Pride and grief tangled in her chest, a knot she had grown accustomed to carrying. We'll figure it out together, she promised. The next morning, Fiona visited Mr. Chen's store with a proposition. For years, she had kept her culinary talents within the family circle. Her prize-winning apple pies, the traditional Irish soda bread that had won ribbons at church festivals in her younger days, the chocolate cake recipe that 3 generations of her family had guarded jealously. Cooking classes, she explained to Mr. Chen. In the community center, perhaps, a small fee for participants focused on family recipes and traditional techniques. Mr. Chen considered, stroking his chin thoughtfully. There would be interest, certainly. Many young families in the neighborhood now, working parents who never learned to cook from their own parents. By the end of the week, Fiona had secured the community center's kitchen for Tuesday evenings, and Mr. Chen had posted flyers in his store. Mrs. Rodriguez spread the word through her church group. To Fiona's surprise, the first class filled quickly. 12. Participants paying $15 each to learn the secrets of her apple pie. Standing before the group that first evening, Fiona's hands trembled slightly. It had been decades since she'd taught anyone but family. But as she began explaining the importance of keeping the butter cold, of handling the dough with confident but gentle hands, her nervousness fell away. This was knowledge she possessed, skills she had honed over a lifetime. As the weeks passed, the classes grew in popularity. Fiona added a Saturday morning session, then a special class on holiday baking as winter approached. The income wasn't substantial, but it was enough to cover Donna's transportation costs to the new school and begin a small savings fund for future educational needs. More importantly, the classes connected Fiona to the community in new ways. She found herself mentoring young mothers who reminded her of Catherine, exchanging recipes with immigrants eager to share their own culinary traditions, building a network of support that stretched beyond her immediate neighborhood. When Donna was accepted into the Accelerated Learning Program in late spring, Fiona faced the transportation dilemma with new resources. A father from her baking class worked near Westridge Elementary and offered to drive Donna in the mornings. For afternoons, they arranged a carpool with another program student who lived relatively nearby. Summer arrived with unexpected opportunities. The community center director, impressed by the success of Fiona's cooking classes, offered her a position coordinating senior activities 3 mornings a week. The flexible schedule would work around Donna's school hours in the fall, and the additional income would provide a more substantial cushion for their future. "See, Grandma," Donna said as they celebrated with ice cream cones in the park. "Things are getting better." Fiona nodded, watching her granddaughter's face in the golden summer light. The shadows of grief still appeared occasionally in Donna's eyes, but less frequently now. Progress, Fiona thought again. Step by small step. That progress was threatened in August when the Davises returned, this time without their attorney, but with a new strategy. Instead of threats, they arrived bearing gifts and smiles, inviting Donna to spend the last 2 weeks of summer at their beach house on Cape Cod. "Consider it a celebration of her acceptance into the advanced program," Eleanor suggested smoothly. "A chance for her to relax before the academic challenges ahead." Fiona hesitated, remembering how quickly Donna had fled from their last hospitality. But Donna herself seemed cautiously interested. "There's a sailing program for kids," she told Fiona after the Davises left, "and tide pools to explore. It might be fun." Recognizing that healing required building bridges rather than walls, Fiona agreed to the visit, helping Donna pack with careful optimism. This time, when Donna departed, Fiona felt a different kind of anxiety, not fear of losing her granddaughter, but concern for a child taking tentative steps into a wider world, one where Fiona couldn't always protect her. In search of distraction, Fiona threw herself into preparations for Chicago's annual Taste of the Neighborhood Festival. The community center had reserved a booth for her cooking class participants to showcase their creations. The event attracted visitors from across the city, including food critics, restaurant owners, and catering companies scouting for talent. Fiona decided to feature her signature dish, a traditional Irish bread pudding with whiskey sauce, made from her grandmother's recipe. The morning of the festival dawned clear and warm. As Fiona set up her booth, arranging samples on decorated plates, she felt a surge of pride in how far she had come from those dark days after Catherine's death. The festival bustled with activity, the air rich with competing aromas of cuisines from around the world. Fiona's samples disappeared quickly, accompanied by murmurs of appreciation and requests for business cards she didn't possess. By mid-afternoon, her feet ached and her arthritic hands protested, but satisfaction warmed her chest as she served the last of her pudding. "Remarkable depth of flavor," commented a tall man in a chef's jacket, taking a second sample. "The balance of spices is perfectly calibrated." Fiona thanked him, not recognizing his significance until Mrs. Rodriguez hurried over after he departed. "Do you know who that was?" she whispered excitedly. "James Gallagher. He owns 3 of the most successful restaurants in Chicago, and he came back for seconds of your pudding." Fiona dismissed the encounter as a pleasant moment, nothing more. But the following Wednesday, as she prepared for her evening cooking class, the community center director appeared at the kitchen door. "There's someone here to see you, Fiona. Says it's about a business opportunity." James Gallagher stood in the center's modest lobby, more imposing in his business attire than he had been in festival casual. "Mrs. Sullivan," he greeted her, extending his hand. "I've been thinking about your bread pudding since Saturday. More specifically, I've been thinking about the hands that created it." Over coffee in the center's cafeteria, he explained his proposition. His restaurant group was launching a new establishment focusing on elevated comfort food, traditional recipes with refined presentation and premium ingredients. He wanted Fiona to join the team as a culinary consultant, bringing authentic family recipes and techniques to the professional kitchen. "Not full-time," he clarified, noting her hesitation. 2 days a week, developing recipes, training staff on traditional methods. The compensation would be substantial for the specialized knowledge you provide." The offer was unexpected, almost overwhelming. Fiona thought of Catherine, who had always encouraged her to share her talents beyond family gatherings. She thought of Donna, whose educational future would be secured by this additional income. And she thought of herself, at 68, being valued for skills she had honed over a lifetime, rather than dismissed as too old, too limited. "I have a granddaughter," she said carefully. "My schedule would need to accommodate her school. Ours, her needs." Gallagher nodded. "Family comes first. We can work around your availability." Ndree. By the time Donna returned from Cape Cod, tanned and talking excitedly about sailing lessons, Fiona had negotiated terms with Gallagher's restaurant group and begun organizing her recipe collection for professional adaptation. The position wouldn't begin until October, after Donna was settled in her new school, giving Fiona time to arrange her other responsibilities. Donna's reaction to the news was pure joy. "You're going to be a professional chef, Grandma. That's amazing." "Not a chef," Fiona corrected, smiling. "A consultant. I'll be teaching others how to make the recipes I've always made for our family." "Still amazing," Donna insisted, throwing her arms around Fiona's waist. "I knew you were special. Now everyone else will know too." Have you ever witnessed someone overcome society's low expectations through determination and love? Share your thoughts in the comments. September brought the beginning of the academic year and Donna's start at Westridge Elementary's Accelerated Learning Program. The school's campus was intimidating, larger, more modern, and clearly better funded than her previous neighborhood school. Donna's new classmates came primarily from affluent families, many arriving in luxury vehicles driven by parents in business attire or nannies in practical uniforms. In her carefully ironed clothes from the discount store, Donna stood out among her more fashionably dressed peers. Fiona had worried about this moment for weeks. Would her granddaughter be ostracized for her modest circumstances? Would the academic challenges overwhelm her? But as she watched Donna's shoulders square with determination while entering the school, Fiona recognized Catherine's courage in her granddaughter. "Call me if you need anything," Fiona reminded her. "And remember, be myself and do my best," Donna finished with a small smile. "I know, Grandma." The first weeks brought expected challenges. Donna struggled to adjust to the accelerated curriculum and the social dynamics of her new environment. Some classmates made casual, cutting remarks about her clothes or her address. In a bad neighborhood, teachers had higher expectations and assigned more homework than she was accustomed to. Each evening, she sat at the kitchen table, looking increasingly overwhelmed, as Fiona tried to help with assignments that often exceeded her own educational background. "Maybe this program isn't right for me," Donna said one night, pushing away a particularly challenging math worksheet. Fiona considered her response carefully. "Learning new things is supposed to be difficult, sweetheart. That's how we grow." "But I'm the only one who doesn't understand," Donna insisted, tears of frustration welling in her eyes. "I doubt that's true," Fiona said gently, "and even if it were, being the only one just means you have the most opportunity to improve." She took Donna's small hand in her weathered one. "Remember what your mother always said? The only real failure is giving up before you've really tried," Donna finished, managing a watery smile. October arrived with crisp air and falling leaves, bringing both new challenges and unexpected victories. Fiona began her work at Gallagher's Restaurant Development Kitchen, discovering a world of professional culinary techniques that both intimidated and excited her. The younger chefs initially viewed her with skepticism. What could this grandmother possibly teach them about modern gastronomy? But when Fiona demonstrated the proper way to make a roux passed down through generations, or the secret to her perfectly flaky pastry, their attitudes shifted to respect. Meanwhile, Donna began finding her footing at Westridge. A science project about urban ecosystems allowed her to showcase knowledge gained from years of helping Fiona tend their small backyard vegetable garden. Her detailed observations about soil composition and beneficial insects earned her team top marks and newfound respect from classmates who had previously dismissed her. One evening in late October, as they worked side by side preparing dinner, Donna looked up at Fiona with unexpected seriousness. "Grandma, why didn't the Davises ever come to see Mom when she was alive? Why do they only care about me now?" Fiona's hands stilled over the vegetables she was chopping. She had been waiting for this question, dreading it, but knowing it was inevitable. As Donna grew old enough to understand adult complexities, sometimes people make choices based on pride or appearances rather than love, she said carefully. Your grandfather Davis came from a wealthy family with certain expectations. When your mother became pregnant with you and your father wasn't ready for that responsibility, there was a falling out. So they were ashamed of me. Donna's voice was small but steady. They were wrong, Fiona stated firmly. Your mother was brave and loving, and you were the best thing that ever happened to her. Sometimes people realize their mistakes too late, after they've missed something precious. I believe that's what happened with the Davises. Donna absorbed this, nodding slowly. That's why you let me visit them, even though they weren't nice to Mom. Family is complicated, sweetheart. People can change, and forgiveness matters. But that doesn't mean we forget, or that we let others dictate our choices. Their conversation was interrupted by the telephone's ring. Eleanor Davis's cultured voice carried a note of tension that immediately put Fiona on alert. We've been patient, Fiona, but Richard and I feel it's time to revisit the custody discussion. Donna's education is critical at this age, and while we understand you've enrolled her in some sort of special program, we have connections at Ravenswood Academy, one of the most prestigious private schools in Massachusetts. They've agreed to consider a mid-year transfer. Fiona's grip tightened on the receiver. Donna is thriving here. Her test scores... Numbers on paper don't tell the whole story, Eleanor interrupted. We're coming to Chicago next week. Our attorney will contact you to arrange a meeting. After hanging up, Fiona stood motionless in the kitchen, fear and anger warring within her. The Davises' timing couldn't be worse. Donna was finally adjusting to her new school. Fiona's cooking classes and consulting work were building toward financial stability. They were creating a life that honored Catherine's memory while looking toward the future. Bad news? Donna asked, sensing her grandmother's distress. Fiona forced a smile. Nothing we can't handle together. The Davises arrived with renewed determination and a familiar strategy, overwhelming Fiona with legal terminology and showcasing the material advantages they could provide. This time, however, they came armed with a portfolio documenting what they characterized as concerning conditions in Fiona's home. The repaired but still visibly patched roof, the outdated plumbing, the second-hand furniture. We've consulted with several family court judges informally, their attorney explained. Given the disparity in living conditions and educational resources, they believe a change in primary custody would likely be approved. Fiona listened, her back straight and her expression composed despite the fear churning in her stomach. When they finished, she spoke with quiet dignity. I've prepared some documents as well. She presented a folder containing Donna's most recent academic assessment, showing her rapid progress in the Accelerated Learning Program. Here are letters from her teachers, noting her exceptional work ethic and social adjustment. And this, she added, sliding forward a bank statement, shows the education fund I've established for Donna's future college expenses. The Davises exchanged uncertain glances, clearly surprised by Fiona's preparedness. Material comfort isn't the only a measure of appropriate guardianship, Fiona continued. Stability, emotional support, community connections, these matter profoundly to a child who has lost a parent. Donna has those things here with me and within this neighborhood that has embraced us. Richard Davis cleared his throat. We're not suggesting you haven't done your best, Fiona, but at your age... My age gives me experience, Fiona interrupted calmly. Patience, perspective. I've raised a daughter who became a loving, capable mother. I'm raising her child with the same values. The meeting ended in another stalemate, though Fiona sensed a subtle shift in the dynamics. The Davises' confidence appeared slightly shaken by her organized resistance, by evidence that despite her limited means, she was providing substantively for Donna's future. After they departed, promising to consider their options, Fiona allowed herself to sink into her armchair, exhaustion washing over her. The constant fear of losing Donna drained her in ways that physical labor never had. That Saturday, seeking distraction from legal worries, Fiona took Donna to the city's autumn festival. Among the attractions was a youth talent showcase where local children could perform music, dance, or other skills. Donna, who had recently begun taking free piano lessons offered through Westridge's music program, hesitantly suggested signing up. "Are you sure, sweetheart?" Fiona asked, surprised. by the typically shy girl's interest in performing publicly. "You've only been playing a few months. Ms. Winters says I have natural talent," Donna replied, "and I've been practicing extra during lunch break." Watching her granddaughter's determined expression, Fiona nodded encouragingly. "Then let's get you registered." The talent showcase was held in the park's central pavilion, drawing a substantial weekend crowd. Donna, scheduled near the end of the program, grew increasingly nervous as she watched more experienced performers. By the time her name was called, her face had paled and her hands trembled visibly. "I don't think I can do this," she whispered to Fiona. Fiona squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to, but sometimes the things that scare us most are the ones worth doing." Donna took a deep breath and walked onto the small stage. Sitting at the provided upright piano, she paused, then began playing a simple but lovely rendition of Clair de Lune. Her small fingers moved with surprising confidence across the keys, her expression transforming from terror to deep concentration. The piece wasn't performed perfectly. There were hesitations, a few missed notes, but the crowd responded warmly to the young girl's earnest effort. As Donna played the final notes, her face lifted in surprise at the enthusiastic applause. Among those clapping was a silver-haired gentleman who approached Fiona afterward, introducing himself as Dr. Wilson, the music director at Westridge Elementary. "Your granddaughter has remarkable potential," he said, watching Donna accept congratulations from festival goers. "Raw talent that's quite unusual, especially considering her limited formal training." "She's always had a good ear," Fiona acknowledged. "Her mother was musical too," Dr. Wilson nodded thoughtfully. "We have a specialized music program at Westridge, separate from the regular music classes. Students receive twice-weekly private lessons. There's an audition process, but based on what I heard today, I'd encourage Donna to apply." Fiona's heart sank at the thought of additional expenses she couldn't meet. "I'm afraid private lessons are beyond our means right now." "The program is funded by an arts foundation," Dr. Wilson explained. "No cost to families. It's quite competitive, only 6 students per grade level, but it provides remarkable opportunities. Several of our graduates have received scholarships to prestigious conservatories." Hope bloomed in Fiona's chest as she watched Donna, her face flushed with accomplishment, accepting a ribbon from the showcase organizers. Another opportunity opening, another door that had seemed permanently closed now standing ajar. Will the musical notes that dance from Donna's fingertips compose a new symphony of hope, or will the Davises' legal maneuvers cut her budding talent short before it can fully bloom? November brought early snow and increasing tension as the Davises' attorney filed formal paperwork seeking modified custody arrangements. The proposed plan would grant them primary physical custody, with Fiona relegated to occasional visitation. The court date was set for January, after the holidays, but soon enough to potentially transfer Donna to a new school for the spring semester. Fiona tried to shield Donna from the worst of her anxiety, but the girl was perceptive beyond her years. One evening, she found Fiona at the kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents sent by the pro bono attorney the community centre had helped her secure. "They're not going to take me away, are they?" Donna asked, her voice small. Fiona looked up, startled by the direct question. "I'm doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen." Donna climbed onto Fiona's lap, something she had done less frequently as she grew older and more independent. "I don't want to leave you, even if they have a bigger house and fancier schools." Fiona held her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the steady beat of her heart. "I don't want that either, but whatever happens, remember that love doesn't disappear with distance. Your mother loved you every moment she was alive, and that love stays with you still. My love will be with you always, no matter where you are." Despite the legal shadow hanging over them, they embraced the approaching holiday season with determined cheer. Donna auditioned for and was accepted into Westridge's special music program, displaying a natural talent that surprised everyone, except Fiona, who had always recognized her granddaughter's sensitivity to rhythm and melody. "It reminds me of you playing," Donna said one evening, practicing scales at the small electric keyboard Dr. Wilson had loaned them. "Will you teach me some of the songs you used to play for Mom?" Fiona smiled, remembering the lullabies and folk, tunes she had played for Catherine on their old upright piano, long since sold to pay bills during hard times. Of course, music is another way we keep family memories alive. December transformed Chicago into a wonderland of lights and festive displays. Despite their modest budget, Fiona and Donna created their own holiday magic, baking traditional cookies to share with neighbors, crafting ornaments from materials found around the house, singing carols together as Donna accompanied on her keyboard. The Davises sent extravagant gifts, an expensive winter coat, electronic games, a gift certificate to a high-end department store. They also extended an invitation for Donna to spend Christmas week in Boston, which Fiona gently declined, suggesting, instead, that they visit Chicago if they wished to see their granddaughter during the holidays. To her surprise, they agreed, arriving 2 days before Christmas with suitcases full of presents and a noticeably less combative attitude. Perhaps it was the season's influence, or perhaps seeing the warm, loving home Fiona had created despite limited means had begun to affect their perspective. "We've been thinking," Eleanor said carefully, as they shared Christmas Eve dinner at Fiona's carefully set table. "Perhaps we've been too absolute in our approach." Richard nodded, looking uncomfortable but determined. "Our attorney suggests that cooperative co-grandparenting might be viewed more favorably by the court than an adversarial custody battle." Fiona noted their continued focus on legal strategy rather than what was best for Donna, but she welcomed any shift toward compromise. "I've always believed Donna deserves the love of all her family." "We're proposing regular extended visits during school breaks," Eleanor continued, "and financial support for educational expenses without strings attached." "And what about primary custody?" Fiona asked directly. The Davises exchanged glances. "We'll need to discuss that further," Richard said, "but we're open to exploring alternatives to our original petition." It wasn't a complete surrender, but it was progress. A Christmas miracle of sorts, Fiona thought, as she watched Donna unwrap gifts later that evening, the girl's delight unmarred by the adults' complex negotiations. The new year brought renewed challenges. Donna struggled with a particularly demanding science project, part of Westridge's curriculum, designed to prepare students for future academic rigor. Her frustration mounted as concepts that came easily to classmates from more privileged educational backgrounds eluded her despite hours of effort. "I'm too stupid for this program," she declared one evening, pushing away her textbook. "I don't belong there." "Nonsense," Fiona replied firmly. "You're one of the brightest children I know. You just need a different approach." She considered for a moment. What exactly is this project about? "Renewable energy," Donna sighed. "We're supposed to design and build a working model of a sustainable energy system. Tyler's dad is an engineer and is helping him build a solar-powered car. Madison's parents bought her a fancy wind turbine kit. I don't even know where to start." Fiona smiled slowly. "I think I might know someone who can help." The next day, she approached one of the line cooks at Gallagher's restaurant, a young man named Miguel who was studying environmental engineering. While working evenings to pay his tuition, he agreed enthusiastically to provide guidance, stopping by their home several evenings to help Donna design a water wheel system that demonstrated hydroelectric power using recycled materials from around the neighborhood. "It's not fancy," Donna worried as they put finishing touches on the model. "It doesn't have any electronic parts like the other kids' projects." But it works, Miguel pointed out, demonstrating how the wheel's movement could be harnessed to generate electricity. And you understand exactly how and why it works, which is the most important part. To Donna's surprise, her project earned top marks, with her teacher specifically praising its sustainability, creativity, and clear scientific principles. More importantly, it taught her a valuable lesson about resourcefulness and community, that solutions didn't always require money or status, just ingenuity and willing helpers. January's court date approached with ominous speed. Though the Davises had softened their position somewhat since Christmas, they hadn't withdrawn their petition for primary custody. Fiona's pro bono attorney warned her to prepare for all possibilities, including an adverse ruling. The judge will consider multiple factors, she explained: financial stability, educational opportunities, health and age of the caregivers, emotional bonds. We have strong arguments, but nothing is guaranteed in family court. The night before the hearing, neither Fiona nor Donna could sleep. They sat together in the living room, a photo album open between them, looking at pictures of Catherine through the years. "Mom would be proud of us, wouldn't she?" Donna asked, tracing her finger over a photo of Catherine holding her as a baby. "Immensely proud," Fiona confirmed, "of how brave you've been, how hard you've worked at school, how kind you've remained despite everything." Donna leaned against her grandmother's shoulder. "I'm proud of you too. For taking me in, for learning new cooking things at the restaurant, for not being afraid of the Davises, even though they have fancy lawyers." Fiona smiled, blinking back tears. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means more than you know." The courtroom felt cavernous and cold the next morning. Fiona sat beside her attorney, back straight despite her pounding heart, watching as the Davises conferred with their considerably more polished legal representation across the aisle. Donna waited outside with Mrs. Rodriguez, the judge having decided that a child her age shouldn't be present for the entire proceedings. Both sides presented their arguments. The Davises' attorney emphasized their financial resources, the prestigious educational opportunities they could provide, their sprawling home with a dedicated room for Donna. Fiona's lawyer countered with evidence of Donna's thriving academic performance, her successful adjustment after trauma, the strong community support system, and the stable, loving environment Fiona had maintained despite modest means. Character witnesses spoke for both parties, the Davises' family friends attesting to their respectability and resources, Fiona's neighbors and colleagues describing her dedication and the remarkable progress Donna had made in her care. As Dr. Wilson from Westridge took the stand to discuss Donna's musical talent and academic potential, Fiona noticed a shift in the judge's expression, a thoughtful consideration replacing her previously neutral demeanor. "In your professional opinion," the judge asked, "would removing Donna from her current school environment at this juncture serve her educational interests?" Dr. Wilson shook his head emphatically. "Quite the opposite. She's at a critical developmental stage, both academically and musically. The continuity of instruction, the relationships she's built with teachers and peers, the confidence she's gaining, all these would be disrupted by a transfer, potentially setting back her progress significantly." The Davises' attorney attempted to counter with promises of private tutors and premier music instructors in Boston, but the judge's subsequent questions suggested she placed considerable weight on stability and emotional well-being alongside material advantages. When it was time for closing arguments, Richard Davis unexpectedly stood and addressed the court directly. "Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to modify our petition." His attorney looked startled, but Richard continued with determination. "My wife and I have been reconsidering our approach. While we still believe we can offer Donna significant advantages, we've come to appreciate the stable environment Mrs. Sullivan has provided during an incredibly difficult transition." Eleanor nodded beside him, her customary composure showing. Cracks of genuine emotion. We're amending our request, Richard continued. Instead of primary custody, we're proposing a structured visitation schedule during school breaks and summer months, along with financial support for Donna's education and extracurricular activities. We believe this compromise would serve Donna's best interests while honoring the bond she's formed with her maternal grandmother. A wave of relief washed over Fiona, so powerful she had to grip the table to remain upright. The judge nodded approvingly. At the Davises' revised position, I appreciate this constructive approach. Family court functions best when parties can set aside adversarial positions in favor of collaborative solutions. She turned to Fiona. Mrs. Sullivan, what are your thoughts on this proposal? Fiona rose, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I've always believed that Donna deserves the love of all her family. If the Davises are sincere in their desire to support rather than separate us, I welcome their involvement in her life. The judge smiled slightly. Then I believe we have the foundation for an agreement that truly serves this child's best interests. The subsequent legal documentation was complex, establishing visitation schedules, educational funding arrangements, and communication protocols. But the fundamental outcome was clear. Donna would remain with Fiona while building a relationship with her paternal grandparents that added to, rather than subtracted from, her sense of family and security. Outside the courthouse, Donna launched herself into Fiona's arms as soon as she heard the news. I knew it. I knew we'd stay together. Over Donna's head, Fiona met Eleanor Davis's gaze. The younger woman's expression held a mix of resignation and newfound respect. She's lucky to have you, Eleanor said simply. She's lucky to have all of us, Fiona replied, extending a hand across what had once seemed an unbridgeable divide. The remainder of the school year brought new rhythms and routines. Donna continued excelling at Westridge, her confidence growing with each academic and musical achievement. The Davises kept their word, providing funds for educational expenses without attempting to control how they were used and maintaining regular communication without overstepping boundaries. Spring brought an unexpected opportunity when Chef Gallagher approached Fiona about expanding her role at the restaurant. The heritage cuisine section of the menu, featuring her traditional recipes, had become unexpectedly popular, attracting attention from food critics and creating a distinctive identity for the establishment. We'd like to feature you more prominently, he explained. Cooking demonstrations for VIP customers, a weekly chef's table experience, highlighting your family recipes. It would mean more hours, but also significantly more compensation. The timing couldn't have been better. The roof was showing signs of needing more substantial repairs than the neighbors' patching could provide. Donna was outgrowing her bedroom furniture, and looking further ahead, college costs loomed as an inevitable future challenge despite the Davises' contributions to her education fund. By summer, Fiona's expanded role had transformed their financial situation from precarious to stable. For the first time, she could address home repairs properly, replace worn-out appliances, and even set aside modest savings beyond Donna's education fund. More importantly, her work brought unexpected fulfillment, a sense of professional value she had never experienced during her years of unpaid domestic labor. At 69, when many of her contemporaries were well into retirement, Fiona was discovering new dimensions of her talents and building a legacy that extended beyond her family circle. What will the future hold for Donna and Fiona as their remarkable journey continues? Keep watching to find out if their shared determination will lead to even greater triumphs. Donna spent 2 weeks that summer visiting the Davises at their Cape Cod home, returning with sailing certificates, newfound confidence in social settings, and stories of adventures with cousins she had never met before. The visit that Fiona had once feared would separate them permanently had instead expanded Donna's world in positive ways. "Mrs. Davis wants to come to my fall piano recital," Donna reported, sorting through souvenirs spread across the kitchen table. "And Mr. Davis said he might help coach my science team if we make it to the regional competition." Fiona smiled, recognizing the value of these connections, even as she marveled at how completely the adversarial relationship had transformed. "They're learning what I've always known, that you're an extraordinary child worth knowing and supporting." As Donna entered 5th grade, her last year at Westridge before moving to the district's advanced middle school program, she blossomed in unexpected ways. The formerly shy girl who had hidden behind her grandmother at social gatherings now volunteered for school leadership roles, mentored younger students in the music program, and organized a neighborhood cleanup project that earned recognition from the alderman's office. "I don't know where she gets her energy," Fiona remarked to Mrs. Rodriguez as they watched Donna directing other children in sorting recyclables during the cleanup's final day. "She gets it from you," Mrs. Rodriguez replied simply. "She's watched you rebuild your lives from nothing, one step at a time, never giving up despite what anyone said was possible. Children learn what they live, Fiona." The observation lingered with Fiona, prompting reflection on the journey they had traveled since Catherine's death. From those first desperate days of grief and uncertainty, they had constructed a life that honored Catherine's memory while creating new possibilities neither had imagined possible. Not despite their challenges, Fiona realized, but in many ways because of them, because difficulty had forged resilience, creativity, and community connections that prosperity might never have inspired. On a crisp October evening, as they walked home from Donna's triumphant piano recital, the one the Davises had traveled from Boston to attend, Donna squeezed Fiona's hand suddenly. "Grandma, I found something in Mom's old journal that I didn't understand." Fiona's heart skipped. Catherine's journal contained raw emotions, complex adult struggles. "What was it, sweetheart?" "She wrote that sometimes she felt guilty for leaning on you so much, for not being more independent. But then she said that real strength isn't doing everything alone. It's knowing when to ask for help and being brave enough to accept it." Fiona swallowed against the sudden tightness in her throat. "Your mother was very wise. Is that why you let the neighbors help fix our roof? And why you said yes when the Davises offered to pay for my summer camp? Because being strong sometimes means accepting help." "Exactly that," Fiona confirmed, marveling at the child's insight. "For a long time I thought independence meant doing everything myself, never showing weakness. Your mother taught me otherwise, and now you're teaching me too." Donna considered this, her expression thoughtful beyond her years. "I think that's why the Davises changed. They wanted to help, but they were trying to take over instead of just being another kind of help in our lives." "That's a remarkably perceptive observation," Fiona said, wondering when her granddaughter had become so emotionally intelligent. "Sometimes people have good intentions, but express them poorly. Like when I try a new piece on the piano and hit all the wrong notes, even though I know in my head how it should sound," Donna suggested. Fiona laughed. "Something like that. Relationships take practice too." As winter returned to Chicago, bringing holiday preparations and end-of-semester projects, Fiona found herself reflecting on the approaching milestone. They had nearly completed 2 full years since Catherine's death, since that day when everything had changed with a single phone call. The grief remained, a quiet companion rather than the overwhelming force it had once been. Catherine's absence was still felt daily, in moments when Donna mastered a skill her mother would have celebrated, or during quiet evenings when Fiona found herself reaching for the phone to share news before remembering there would be no answer. Yet alongside that enduring sorrow had grown a life rich with unexpected blessings: Fiona's late-blooming career, Donna's academic and musical achievements, their home renewed piece by piece, and a community of support that expanded beyond biology to encompass neighbors, colleagues, teachers, and yes, even the once hostile Davises. On the second anniversary of Catherine's passing, Fiona and Donna visited the cemetery together, placing fresh flowers despite the snow dusting the ground. Rather than the raw devastation of the first anniversary, they shared memories of Catherine, with smiles more frequent than tears, recognizing how her influence continued to shape their lives in positive ways. "Mum would be really proud of us, wouldn't she?" Donna asked, as they walked hand in hand back to the car. "More than proud," Fiona assured her. "She would be amazed by how far we've come." The following spring brought a milestone that captured their journey in a single powerful moment. Donna's school district held a regional young musicians competition, bringing together talented students from across the city. After months of practice, Donna had been selected to perform a challenging classical piece that stretched her abilities to their limit. As the day approached, her nervousness mounted. "What if I mess up? What if I embarrass everybody?" "Then you'll have tried something difficult and learned from it," Fiona replied simply. "Success isn't perfection, Donna. It's growth." The competition venue was the Grand Auditorium at Northwestern University, intimidating with its perfect acoustics and rows of critical judges. Fiona sat in the audience between Eleanor Davis and Mrs. Rodriguez, an unlikely trio united in their support for the small figure approaching the gleaming grand piano on stage. Donna paused before the keyboard, took a steadying breath that was audible in the hushed room, then began to play. The opening notes were hesitant, slightly uneven, reflecting her nerves. But as the music continued, something remarkable happened. Donna's expression shifted from anxiety to absorption in the composition itself. Her body relaxed, her fingers gained confidence, and the music flowed with increasing beauty and emotion. When she finished, the audience's applause was immediate and enthusiastic. Fiona found herself standing alongside Eleanor, both women wiping tears as they applauded the extraordinary child they shared. Later that evening, after Donna had received her second-place medal and been congratulated by judges who praised her musicality and emotional depth, the extended family gathered at Fiona's home for a celebration dinner. Chef Gallagher had contributed gourmet additions to Fiona's home cooking, creating a feast that honored both her culinary heritage and her professional growth. As they shared the meal around Fiona's expanded dining table, the Davises, neighbors, Donna's teachers, Miguel the engineering student who had become a family friend, Fiona marveled at the community they had built, the bridges constructed across differences of age, culture, and economic status. Richard Davis raised his glass in a toast to Donna, whose talent we celebrated today, and to Fiona, who reminded us all that wealth comes in many forms, the most valuable of which isn't measured in bank accounts. To family, Eleanor added, meeting Fiona's gaze with genuine warmth in all its complex, unexpected formations. After the guests departed and Donna had gone to bed, still glowing from the day's achievements, Fiona sat alone in the living room. On the mantel stood photographs documenting their journey, Catherine holding newborn Donna, Fiona and Donna on the first day of school after Catherine's death, Donna at the piano, the three generations together during happier times. Beside these familiar images now stood newer ones: Donna sailing with the Davises, Fiona in her chef's jacket at Gallagher's restaurant, their extended family gathered for holiday celebrations. Different chapters of the same ongoing story. one Fiona could never have envisioned when she answered that fateful phone call 2 years earlier. The journey hadn't ended, of course. Challenges remained. Fiona's advancing age and occasional health concerns, Donna's approaching adolescence with its inevitable complications, the continued navigation of co-grandparenting with the Davises. But these challenges no longer loomed as insurmountable obstacles. They were simply the next stages of a path traveled together, with hard-won confidence that they could find their way. Fiona traced her finger over Catherine's smiling face in the oldest photograph. "We're doing well," she whispered. "Not perfectly, but well. She's becoming someone extraordinary, someone who carries the best of you forward. And I'm becoming someone new too, someone I never expected to be." From down the hall came Donna's voice, drowsy but determined. "Grandma, are you talking to Mom again?" Fiona smiled, moving toward her granddaughter's room. "Just letting her know we're okay." Donna nodded sleepily as Fiona sat on the edge of her bed. "Better than okay. Remember what you always say? We're Sullivan women. We don't just survive, we thrive," Fiona finished, stroking Donna's dark curls. "No matter what obstacles life puts in our way. No matter what people say is impossible," Donna murmured, drifting towards sleep. Fiona continued sitting beside her long after her breathing deepened into slumber, watching the moonlight play across features that echoed Catherine's yet remained uniquely Donna's own. The future stretched before them, no longer a terrain of fear and scarcity, but a landscape of possibilities they would navigate together, surrounded by the community they had built and the love that had sustained them through their darkest days. They had proven wrong everyone who said a poor grandmother couldn't raise a child properly. More importantly, they had proven to themselves that family wasn't defined by conventional metrics of success or traditional structures, but by love expressed through daily acts of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering support. In the quiet of that moment, with her granddaughter sleeping peacefully beside her and their home secure around them, Fiona felt a sense of completion, not of their journey, which would continue evolving, but of the transformation from crisis to confidence, from survival to genuine flourishing. "We did it, Catherine," she whispered once more. "Against all odds, we did it." And in the peaceful expression on Donna's sleeping face, in the medals and achievements accumulating on her shelves, in the restored strength of Fiona's once despairing heart, lay all the proof anyone could require that love, determination, and community could overcome even the most daunting circumstances. Congratulations! Type 9 in the comments so that I know you stayed until the end with me. Thank you for watching, and until tomorrow's story on this same channel.